So there are zombie movies that want to scare you. There are zombie movies that want to gross you out. And then there's one zombie movie that wants to give you an existential crisis. Cemetery Man is that movie.
I'm the watchman of the Buffalora Cemetery.
My name's Francesco Dellamorte.
I don't know how the epidemic started. All I know is that some people, on the seventh night after their death, come back to life.
It's true what they say, that the dead come back to life here at night.
With your consent, I'd like to marry Nagy.
Not as long, dear, as I've got a breath in my body.
We'll fix that right away.
Stop killing the dead. Why don't you just kill the living? Are you listening to me?
Don't you believe me?
No.
Tough.
Released in 1994 under the title Dellamorte Dellamore, and then later known as Cemetery Man in the English-speaking parts of the world, Michele Soave's film is one of the most distinctive European horror movies in the 1990s. So this movie is an existential crisis wrapped in the packaging of a zombie romance. This is a film where the dead rising from the grave is the least worrying thing playing out on screen. And if you're looking for clear, easily digestible answers to looming questions, do not watch this movie. Instead, this is an exploration of repetition and obsession, and a terrifying possibility that meaning is buried 6 feet under a marble tombstone that says, "Fuck your answers." The film is based on Tiziano Scalvi's 1983 book Dellamorte Dellamore. Scalvi is also known for being the creator of the comic book character Dylan Dog. I haven't read either of these, which seems like a personal failing on my part. The story follows Francesco Dellamorte, a cemetery keeper whose job it is to shoot the dead when they crawl out of the grave. That plot point only exists to kick off the action. Cemetery Man takes that premise and mutates it into a philosophical nightmare about routine, loneliness, love. Oh, and it also spends a lot of time lingering on a great set of friends. So it is a zombie movie, but only in a technical sense. Yes, there are zombies, but this is the least zombie-filled zombie movie ever made. The movie uses the horror of The Walking Dead as a framework, then bleeds it into black comedy, gothic romance, and even satire. I'm convinced it became a cult classic because it's so confounding most people keep going back to find answers that aren't there. The director, Michele Soave, is an Italian film and television director who began his career as a mentee to the godfather of Italian horror, Dario Argento. His work here feels entirely unique because it's mostly all over the place tonally. Scenes start off as horror, then quickly shift to mournful, then absurd, and then back to horrifying. That balance is hard to pull off, and the fact that Soave sort of almost pulls it off is a bit of a minor miracle. There are moments in this film that are almost dreamlike, such as when two lovers are surrounded by tiny dancing blue flames, or when Francesco speaks to a giant grim reaper in the middle of the cemetery. But there are also scenes towards the end that feel fresh out of the ending of Taxi Driver or Death Wish, that emphasize Francesco's increasingly broken mental state. That's what I mean by tonally all over the place. None of this should work, but it kind of does. Rupert Everett plays the character of Francesco Dellamorte as a lonely, weary man, whose only friend is his childlike assistant, Nagy. Everett looks like the perfect leading man, but he plays Francesco as a man slowly losing his marbles. His hunched-over posture and emotional detachment doesn't make the character empty. Francesco feels like a man trying to survive while trapped among real horrors that no one else cares to understand. Everett lets you see the exhaustion without ever having to tell the audience he's tired. Francois Hadji Lazaro as Nagy provides the movie with an odd counterpoint to Everett's handsome leading man. He's a very strange and off-putting presence. He's also one of its most endearing. Even when he dives into a potential marriage with a dead girl's head, I still kind of like the character, and it bothered me a lot when Francesco took her away from Nagy. I know how that sounds. Like I said, this movie is so all over the place that I was rooting for an obese mute in the head of his dead girlfriend. Anna Falchi stars as she and her multiple identities. She becomes the film's central object of obsession and confusion, and it's not hard to see why. Falchi looks exactly like the kind of woman an entire legion of men would go completely bananas over. Side note of interest, legendary actor Derek Jacobi's voice makes an appearance as Death or the Grim Reaper. Jacobi pretty much makes everything he's in better, and he gives Death a theatrical, menacing presence that I consider one of the highlights of the film. The cemetery is just as much a character in this film as the human actors. The world behind the gates is full of graves, fog, mausoleums, and decaying stone that gives the movie its distinctive look. Everything is richly textured, damp, Pools of icky water, broken masonry, crypts crowded next to one another. There's real beauty in the sets despite all the rotten decay. And apparently they used an actual ossuary for the start of the romance between Francesco and she. It gives one of the most important scenes in the film a realistic quality that CGI or spray-painted styrofoam can't replicate. So the question that always gets asked is, what is this movie about? That's a good fucking question, because I'd be hard-pressed to tell you exactly what's going on for most of the movie. Francesco lives in a world where death is routine, but the dead rising from the grave is also routine. It's so common that Francesco barely interrupts a phone call to dispatch a zombie in the film's opening scenes. The repetition of this gruesome task is kind of what gives the story its framework. People die, Nagi buries them, they watch them rise from the grave, Francesco kills them again, and the cycle repeats. There's scenes of violence, scenes of passion, and scenes of wild silliness such as the dead motorcycle kid blasting up from the earth a la Meatloaf's Bat Out of Hell, followed quickly by Francesco accidentally shooting a living girl in the head because she was positioned behind the zombie. That's why the film gets classified as both black comedy and philosophical tragedy. It's interested in love, but only as a catalyst for driving someone towards obsession. It's interested in connection, but keeps showing how unstable connections become when desire keeps attaching itself to the same image in different forms. The character she appears as multiple women, and each version feels like a variation on the same unreachable fantasy. Francesco does not fall in love so much as he falls into obsession. The movie also reflects on alienation. The town refuses to respond meaningfully to the undead problem, which gives the movie a bit of a "the government sucks" edge. It's like the whole city knows what Francesco's doing every night, and they're happy to turn a blind eye. In that sense, the film is not just about zombies. It's about what happens when a whole bunch of systems collectively fail at once. So what are Soavi and Scalvi aiming for? Not a standard monster movie, that's for sure. Not even a supernatural romance. They made a tragic comedy about a man trapped in a loop of desire and repetition that's causing him to shed his sanity. I think. This is what I struggle to explain to people when I talk about this movie. The zombies are important, but they're not the point. They're more like a symptom. The actual subject is the painful, sometimes comedic fuckery that comes with being alive. Decades later, Cemetery Man still stands out because it's so hard to classify. It's too strange to be mainstream. My teenage son made it about 20 minutes into the movie and dipped. It's too intelligent to be dismissed as an Italian zombie trash movie. It's too entertaining and off-kilter to classify as a so bad it's good. It just sits there in this rare space where its cult status is earned by being unlike anything else. From my perspective, it's wholly unique. And that uniqueness is exactly why this film has aged so well. If you pressed me into a corner at knife point, I would probably admit that it's a horror movie. But it's more interesting because the horror elements get manipulated into a movie that has a lot more to say than just, hey, look at the scary zombies. As I've gotten older, I've connected a little more with Francesco's world. There are no nightmares quite as terrifying as exhaustive repetition and existential questions about what the fuck we're all doing. Anyone who's ever had a brain-meltingly routine job knows how Francesco feels. Just like anyone who knows how heartbreak can trigger emotional depths inside you that you never thought possible. In the end, Cemetery Man is one of the strangest, smartest, silliest, and most haunting cult horrors of the 1990s. Yeah, it's a film about the dead rising from the grave. It's even more unsettling because of how vividly it captures the emotional numbness of living. It turns the cemetery into a stage for dark subjects such as loneliness, obsession, and a collapse of sanity. Then it gives the collapse a darkly comic grin, and an ending that'll have you scratching your head for weeks. Horror is often about what hides in the dark. Cemetery Man is about what happens when the dark becomes routine, and the real horrors start to come out, and it's called your life.